loving arms of their families. Perhaps if we had proper legislation in place, passed through Congress, passed through the Senate, signed by the president, instead of talking about the horrors of ripping criminals from their families, I'm sorry. Let's keep our eye on the real prize here. You know, we're all playing with the sparkly ball that is nice and shiny, that, you know, leaves a trail in the sky, and you know, it's glitzy, it's glamorous. It makes me popular on social media when I talk about it. But nobody wants to dig into the real dirt, to dig into the real ground, put their hands into this, clean it out, and come up with something better. That's the state of politics today. That's the state of the immigration debate today. And unfortunately, this is the state of partisanship today as well. We're all focused on the big shiny object that means nothing, and not focusing on the less glamorous task of fixing our country. And hopefully that's a lesson learned for people like Linda Sarsour and Jon Favreau and Sean King, though I doubt it. I'm sure we're going to be looking for the next shiny object in the sky to be able to use to deliver that next political blow to our adversaries out there. You know, this is just a round in a never-ending prize fight, folks. But hopefully, and I remain hopeful that serious people will step up and we shall see some actual policy points being discussed, being addressed, being voted upon, and being signed into law. What can I say? I'm an eternal optimist. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to continue talking about Bad Decision Week. And the bad decisions now coming from conservatives. We've dealt with, you know, the liberal progressive side, but we're going to be talking about Roseanne Barr, her comments, and most importantly, the reactions I'm seeing from some on the right that to me are way out of line. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back right after these brief words. If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com, check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. Well, we got a break in the action here on our Bad Decisions Week show. We got to get the plugs out of the way so you guys can make some good decisions on your programming options for later on in the week, whether you listen to Behind Enemy Lines or any number of great right-leaning, right-of-center political shows out there. So thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene Baradelli. Russ Gall will be with us as soon as he can. He had his drill, I believe, this week. Sure he's back safe and sound, and we're talking to him. I'm sure he's got a lot to say lately, especially with all the news breaking in the past couple of weeks. But thanks for listening to the show. Check us out at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And while you're listening to the show, however it may be, always remember, you can check us out at any one of our rebroadcast outlets on AM, FM, and Internet radio, including WJHC Talk 107.5 FM in beautiful Jasper, Florida, WDDQ Talk 92.1 FM in equally beautiful Adele, Georgia, and WLBB News Talk 1330 AM, almost let my Brooklyn out and said 1330 AM, in just as beautiful Carrollton, Georgia, all part of the Talk America Radio Network. You can also check us out at ICRN, the Internet's conservative radio network, which powers Talk America Radio. Check us out at Lone Star Talk Radio and Sackheads Media. Also, of course, Lanterns.buzz, Lanterns Radio Network. They do a great job over there as well. And Eye to Eye Talk Radio, a new kid on the block, up and coming. Definitely check them out. But if you miss any of the rebroadcasts, it's cool. Don't worry about it. We got you covered as a podcast as well. You can check us out at iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbay, Player FM, TuneIn, Google Play Podcast. Discover us there. SoundCloud, Auto Radio, which is a project of Sirius XM satellite radio, and of course, the mighty iHeartRadio Network. Talking about bad decisions this week. The biggest bad decision on the right, because we talked about the left earlier, and listen, we can make an entire show about bad decisions on the left. We can go for policy, we can talk about unforced errors in social media like we have. We can talk about any number of things there. But I want to be a little fair and balanced here, because this week I was a little disappointed. Well, a little more than a little disappointed in talking about a bad decision from the right. And that bad decision is not necessarily what we're going to talk about as being the impetus for it, but the reaction to a bad decision that in and of itself is a bad decision. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the reaction from many on the right to Roseanne Barr's show cancellation by ABC. The show Roseanne canceled almost immediately on the spot after she let out a tweet about former Obama administration official Valerie Jarrett, comparing her to an ape. Inexcusable comment in normal discourse. I believe it was a discussion of a cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes, or something like that. It was just a vile comment. And ABC said, zero tolerant policy for this. Shows off the air, shows canceled. You're gone, Roseanne. And while that is a bad decision in and of itself, to me, I'm more concerned with the comments that I see from conservatives, many of whom are my friends, that I talk to and interact with on social media, in response to these vile comments by Roseanne Barr. Now, I get it. She's wearing all laundry right now. She's flying that conservative pro-Trump flag, and that's been the success of her show thus far, because it's one of the few shows out there, especially sitcoms, situational comedies, for those of you who don't know what sitcom means. See, you just learned something. Especially sitcoms, which typically skew to the left. I mean, there's some exceptions out there. Tim Allen's show was one that did not skew to the left. In fact, it was closer to the right. and the show got canceled and then got repicked up by Fox. So, it's not precedent setting, but at the same time, it was one of those few out there that conservatives latched onto because it seemed to represent more of the divided households that you see across middle America, with differing political points of view, and they seem to be a balance of the views there that people responded to and resonated with, and they ended up watching in droves. I mean, it was a very highly rated show. I never really watched it. It wasn't really to my taste. Roseanne Barr, never really my cup of tea when it came to comedy. She kind of lost me way back when in singing the national anthem and then, grabbing her crotch and spitting on the ground during it and singing it poorly. Not a fan. Not really a fan. But she's wearing the laundry. She's wearing the pro-Trump colors. And it seems like there are many people out there, conservatives or those who identify themselves purely as Trump Republicans, saying, we need to defend this person. And I'm saying, why? Why do we need to defend this person? Now let's think about this for a second. The biggest defense out there that I've seen has been, well, what about fill in the blank? What about what Joy Behar said? What about what Jimmy Kimmel says on his show? What about, pick the line. There's so many out there. What about doesn't make anyone else's conduct better? Whataboutism doesn't excuse the behavior of the person who initially did something wrong. I get it. You want to say the left and the right have different standards? Cool. I'm with you. You want to say that the left has a lower standard than the right should have? Fine. Cool. I'm with it. You want to say that people on the left get away with saying things like what Roseanne said or similar to it, and people on the right are held to a higher standard? Cool. I'm with it. I get it, and I tend to agree. But just because someone has a lower standard doesn't mean that should be the standard. Doesn't mean that we have to lower ourselves to that standard and defend the indefensible. We shouldn't be lowering our standards here right now. All conservatives doing, and many of my friends are doing this right now, all they're doing is expending their own credibility in an effort to support someone who 10 years ago, heck, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have given a second thought about, and they wouldn't have even batted an eyelash about. So, excuse me while I say to everybody, what are you doing, conservatives, in defending the indefensible? And again, I get it. Dems get away with it. Benny Johnson was on social media, and he had a very comprehensive list of all the times that different liberals got away with similar things. Or, got a lesser penalty or whatever. I mean, Kathy Griffin is back in the news now after a year of being shunned, basically, for that photo of the beheaded President Trump. Snoop Dogg is now hosting The Joker's Wild, while last year he had a rap video out about killing the president. Madonna says she wants to blow up the White House in a rally right after the inauguration. Sarah Silverman calls for the military overthrow of Trump. I get Stephen Colbert's jokes about, the president giving oral sex to Vladimir Putin. Joy Behar saying, and we mentioned her earlier, talking about believing in Jesus or hearing God talk to you is a mental illness. Jimmy Kimmel, mocking the First Lady's accent. There's so many out there. ESPN, which is owned by ABC, by the way, allowing Jameel Hill to call, President Trump a white supremacist. And then, by the way, she wins an award this year for showing the courage for doing that. Keith Olbermann with ESPN, who has seen his share of controversy, calling Trump a Nazi and a racist and wishing for the president's death. These are just a few, just a sampling of stuff